Sean Caleb's, he's in Boston. He has more on the candidate. People there are supporting that, of course, Mitt Romney.
Well, Mike, if you look behind me, you can see the stage is set here for what the party faithful hope will be a red, white, and blue celebration in just a matter of hours. Right now, the hundreds of people squeezed into the floor are listening to the Virginia governor speak with him. That, of course, Virginia, a very important swing state where candidate Romney spent a great deal of time campaigning just over this past week. Without question, it has been a long, long trip for Mitt Romney. He is in Boston right now, and people are waiting to hear from him later on this evening. It has been a campaign that has been incredibly costly. It's gone on 17 months, but really, Mitt Romney's race to get to this point began a long time ago. Well, Romney got off his campaign airplane just a couple of hours ago, looking somewhat drained, but clearly doing everything he could in this 11th hour. Really breaking from tradition. Usually presidential candidates sequester themselves the day the results come in, and it's been an anxious day, Mike, waiting for those numbers to come in. Of course, we'll be here throughout the evening, Mike. Back to you.
And it looks like it may be a long day's journey in tonight. Thank you very much. Sean Caleb's reporting live from Boston for us this last hour. Let's check in with Sean, who's in Boston. Obviously, that's another blow to the Romney camp. They were hoping to get New Hampshire.
I think hoping is putting it mildly. That was one of the states that was listed as a must-win. If you look at the way Mitt Romney has campaigned over the last week, he has crisscrossed much of the country, touching on a number of those battleground states, made a number of stops in New Hampshire. It only has 4 electoral votes, and it may not seem like that much. But when there's a race that's this tight, this close, those 4 electoral votes could make a huge difference at the end of the night. You also talked about Wisconsin. That's another setback. I want to give you some information that we were able to call from Mitt Romney just a short while ago. In Wisconsin, they'd actually thought they were doing okay. They said they had the numbers they wanted in Madison, and that's significant. The capital, Madison, Wisconsin, that is a very, very liberal state. It's where Wisconsin University is as well. Let's talk about Virginia and Florida for just a couple of seconds. They're very close there as well. In Florida, there are still people in lines. A couple of hours ago, Mitt Romney's communication chief spoke to the crowd assembled here at Romney's camp at the convention center in Boston and said there are huge lines in Florida. There are people that could be in lines, Mike, until midnight. She is telling people do not get out of those lines. It's going to be very important. And the information they have, they believe that Dade County is actually not doing as well as Barack Obama had wanted. And that's important because that clearly is going to be a Democratic stronghold, the number of Hispanic voters down in that area as well. And in Ohio, Mike, they're also saying the numbers there are closer than the polls look right now. Of course, those numbers right now are very much in Barack Obama's favor. But behind me, this crowd is not diminished in any way. Every time a new result comes on, every time the ebb and flow and the electoral vote comes up, another cheer comes out from this crowd assembled in this red, white, and blue area. Mike, back to you.
All right, Sean Caleb's live for us in Boston, Massachusetts. Of course, more polls closing out west. Let's check in with Sean Caleb's, where I suspect the mood is going to be a lot more subdued. Huh, Sean?
Yeah, Mike, it is much more muted here, but I have to tell you, I think that the faithful you see behind me, all dressed in dark suits and elegant dresses, they are ready for a celebration, and every time some hint of positive news comes up on the large screens behind me, there is somewhat of a cheer here, but without question, you can see behind me basically the mood of the crowd gathered here. This really belies what has played out the past number of days. Mitt Romney really hitting the campaign trail extremely hard over this past week, feeling he was riding a wave of momentum in to this evening. In fact, at some points, even predicting that he would win more than 300 electoral votes. Well, clearly, that is not going to happen right now. And the paths that could take Mitt Romney to the White House are beginning to at least be extinguished to a degree. He really needs to win Ohio, needs to win Florida, needs to win Virginia. Those are the 3 biggies that people are going to be holding their breath for here. Romney got off his campaign plane just a couple of hours ago, really breaking from tradition. Traditionally, presidential candidates kind of sequester themselves the day the votes come in and spend an anxious day watching them roll in. Well, Romney hit the campaign trail. And when he did get off, he was somewhat emotional, talking about the long trip it has been, and he thanked all of those who have been with him and supported him. Well, the news from here is pretty much what you're seeing playing out behind me. The authorities the people keep waiting for some positive news to come out on those screens behind me, but the next hour and a half going to be incredibly difficult. Mike, they're really pointing toward Florida. They think that the turnout in Miami-Dade County, a traditional stronghold of Democrats, is going to be down. They're counting on that, and they're certainly counting on Virginia, where Romney and Ryan have done a great deal of campaigning. As you know, this is an election where people domestically are looking at the economy, but really internationally, a lot of everybody should be interested in what goes on. There is a tremendous difference between the policies of Barack Obama and the policies that Mitt Romney would do as well. And so everything from Iran, its effort to enhance its nuclear program, to illegal immigration or immigration at any kind in the United States. And of course, Romney's also indicated that label China a currency manipulator when he takes office. So a lot at stake here. We'll be here throughout the evening, Mike. Back to you.
All right, Sean Caleb's live for us in Boston, Massachusetts. Let's check in with Sean in Boston.
Yeah, without question, Mike, it was a kick in the gut when the Ohio numbers came out here in Boston. Audible groan went up. In the ensuing 10, 15 minutes or so, we've seen a lot of hugging. I've seen a few tears off to my right, but mostly people are just staring at the big screen, hoping that what they're seeing is simply not accurate. But it is incredibly clear and incredibly true at this hour. Basically, what happens the rest of the evening here is all atmospheric. It has been called. Barack Obama is going to have 4 more years. We have heard some very public grumbling from a lot of conservative analysts about the information you just talked about, Mike. If indeed Mitt Romney does win the popular vote, saying, maybe this isn't the best way to elect a president, but, those people should think back to 2000 when Al Gore won the popular vote, and of course everybody knows now George W. Bush became the president. There was a very, very narrow window for Mitt Romney after he lost the states of Pennsylvania and Michigan. These are states that he had hoped to win. He had been very, very confident coming in here, saying that he thought he could get as many as 315 electoral votes, but the night's over. All we are doing is waiting for Mitt Romney to come out now. This crowd is just stunned, shocked, just looking around. It is quiet here considering how many people are here. They came for a celebration and they're going to go home very disappointed. Mike?
Sean, stick with us. We want to take some more pictures of Chicago, but I want to talk to you about that confidence that Mitt Romney was demonstrating earlier today. He had said he'd only worked on one speech, which was his victory speech. Obviously, he's going to have to cobble together a concession speech tonight.
Yeah, we did hear that, and we'll see how he flies off the cuff, because he was confident. Said he had about, 1,114-word speech to bring to his faithful here when he became the 45th president of the United States, but he is going to leave as perhaps an afterthought in the 2012. We'll see how history writes this one. It was not the nail biter that people thought. It is close, but this isn't one that's going to go into the wee hours, that's going to be contested, that's going to drag on and on and on. We've heard some conservative analysts say that Barack Obama did not receive a strong mandate from voters, but I think that the president is going to move forward believing he did get that mandate he wanted. It's interesting, Mike, because Romney did go after independents, and he won that group rather handily, but fell short in virtually every other category. Obama's faithful were able to get their people to the polls, and we all know, really, it comes down to the grassroots support. Who has the better organization? Who will get the people out to the polls? Very, very disappointing night for the people here. Looking around me, the crowd is thinning out. We are going to, of course, wait and hear what the former Massachusetts governor has to say about a long, very hard-fought campaign, a very expensive campaign, but he is going to go home the loser tonight.
Once again, the race to 270 over. President Barack Obama winning re-election. Barack Obama, the winner, the 44th president of the United States, has won a second term. Let's check in with Sean Caleb's now in Boston.
Yeah, Mike, behind me may be able to hear this crowd has just been re-energized in the past few minutes. Although everyone else is calling this race, it's clear that Mitt Romney is not going to concede at this moment. Behind me, you may be able to see the monitor. Fox News is on. They had Karl Rove on the air a short while ago. Of course, the strategist behind George W. Bush's 8 years in office. And Rove came on, told the nation, told anybody watching Fox that Ohio is not a done deal yet. Only 3/4 of the votes have been counted in that state, and it's still too early to concede. So that's the reason people here are cheering. It may be a very, very hollow victory at this point, continuing to drag out the race. by all indications, it's over. But Romney is not ready to concede. He is digging in his heels, still holding hopeful that somehow Ohio will turn toward him in the waning hours tonight, Mike.
You know, what's interesting about this, Sean, is back in 2004, John Kerry also elected not to concede until the next morning. So this is not uncommon.
Well, I don't know about not uncommon. You know, it doesn't happen a whole lot of times when we get down to this, especially with the kind of magnifying glass we have with all the networks covering every nuance of these elections. But look, the bottom line is this has been a long campaign, 17 months. How many billions of dollars dragging this thing out? And Romney just clearly wants to make sure that the votes are in. As we say here in the United States, that the fat lady has sung. But, you know, by all indications, it's over. You know, this may be enough to keep this crowd going for a while, but unless it turns dramatically, eventually Mitt Romney is going to have to come out and say, we gave it our best, but maybe the GOP can prevail in 2016.
Well, and this has to sting because his father also ran unsuccessfully in 1968, and there was a lot riding on this race. As you mentioned earlier in the evening, he campaigned in Ohio and Pennsylvania today, right up to the wire, obviously really pinning his hopes on that state, and it appears it didn't go his way.
Yeah, and just listen to this crowd behind me. They clearly want to keep on believing, and who can blame them? These are people who are, by their own words, totally invested in this candidate. Perhaps we didn't see that in 2008 with John McCain and Sarah Palin. But that's one thing that Romney was trying to do. We had a soundbite from him, or a quote from Mitt Romney earlier tonight, where he talked about how effective his campaign had been, how they had gotten 34,000 grassroots volunteers out, making sure people got to the poll. Look, this is a close race. He is still winning the popular vote, and that's significant. And it's probably confusing to a lot of people internationally. How can a candidate win the popular vote yet lose the race? Well, we, of course, have the Electoral College we've gone through. That is the institution which chooses the president of the United States. It's the way it's always been done here, a very strong federalist entity, and it's the way it's going to be for the foreseeable future. But Romney is clearly hanging on. He is a fighter. He is someone who dragged the Olympic Games out of the ashes. He's someone who people had said he couldn't get this far, and he's done it. So will he get further? Have to wait and see, but a lot of people say you gave it your best.
All right. Well, they've certainly counted him out before. There's no doubt about it. Sean Caleb's for us in Boston.